When governments stall, paychecks pause, and uncertainty rises. The headlines say shutdown, but what people really feel is shaken. Across the nation, families are tightening budgets, agencies are halting services, and ordinary people are caught in extraordinary stress. But there's another story underneath all this, one that won't trend or scroll across a ticker, the story of what happens to faith when systems break down. Because the truth is, we were never meant to build our peace on fragile foundations. Today we'll explore how people of faith find stability when the economy wobbles, when leadership falters, and when hope feels delayed. This isn't about politics, it's about perspective. Welcome to Seeking Peace Newsline. I'm Malik Jordan, and today's report asks a simple question. What if the greatest shutdown isn't in Washington but in our trust? At Yellowstone, rangers are closing gates and telling families to turn around. In Washington, D.C., researchers are locking labs they've spent decades building. In Maryland, a single mom working for a federal contractor breaks down. I've served my country for 14 years and I'm 2 paychecks away from eviction. The shutdown has turned faith in the government into frustration. But for believers, this moment calls for a higher kind of faith, not in men, but in God. When worldly structures break down, heaven invites us to stand up. The Bible gives us a striking pattern. Each time God's people trusted politics or alliances, instead of his promise, collapse followed. In Isaiah 31:1, it says, "Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses and trust in chariots, but do not look to the Holy One of Israel." That's a warning, not just for nations, but for individuals. Because every time we trust in human hands to save us, we step away from the hand of God that already has. Faith doesn't mean ignoring the crisis. It means refusing to let the crisis define your peace. In Seeking Peace, Biblical Solutions to the Israeli and Palestinian Conflict, author Tiffany Gerdine reminds us that the roots of conflict, whether between nations or within hearts, are the same: misplaced trust. She writes, when a man becomes the mediator of our peace, peace is lost. And when Jehovah becomes the center, peace is restored. Her words apply not just to global politics, but to your home, your career, your security. If peace depends on your paycheck, then you've built it on shifting sand. But if it depends on Jehovah, it's unshakable. This shutdown exposes more than a financial problem. It exposes a faith problem. We've been trained to look to governments for answers, for healthcare, education, protection, and even moral guidance. But man cannot fix what man broke. Jesus said in John 14:27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you." The peace he offers isn't on a payroll. It doesn't depend on who's in office. It depends on who's on the throne. And across the country, believers are quietly stepping up, opening their doors, feeding neighbors, praying together. It's proof that while the system may have failed, the kingdom hasn't. When I was laid off, I panicked. But I started reading Seeking Peace and realized my job was never my provider. God was. I started volunteering at a local shelter, and somehow I've never gone hungry. I learned that peace doesn't depend on payroll. That's the story we want America to hear. Not of collapse, but of courage. Not of panic, but of prayer. So what do we take from all this? 5 lessons for every viewer tonight. Stop expecting human systems to give you divine peace. They're temporary, fragile, and fallible. 2, rebuild your life on God's promises. His word doesn't furlough. 3, be a light during others' darkness. If you still have work or means, become someone's answer. 4, replace fear with faith. As 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and soundness of mind. 5, remember your true citizenship. Philippians 3:20 says, our citizenship is in heaven. That's where your peace comes from. Tonight's shutdown is tomorrow's headline, but faith is eternal. When nations tremble, God remains. When checks stop, heaven's provision flows. When systems crumble, the kingdom stands. Shutdowns eventually end. But every crisis leaves behind a question. Who or what do we really trust? If our peace depends on policy, it will always fluctuate. But if it's rooted in something unshakable, in Jehovah's promises, then no system can silence that faith. As Tiffany Gerdine reminds us in Seeking Peace, the stability of heaven is not disrupted by the instability of earth. That's why even in times like this, peace isn't canceled, it's rediscovered. For Seeking Peace Newsline, I'm Malik Jordan. Stay steady, stay faithful, and keep seeking peace even when the world around you is standing still.